On Friday, I did a report here on the MeidasTouch network about Donald Trump apparently soiling himself, or at least releasing gas in a very uncomfortable way during a speech that he gave the day before at the Detroit Economic Club. We've since been contacted by some sources who say they were even in a waiting room with Donald Trump at the same gastroenterologist clinic on Park Avenue, and I had not put it together during my previous reports. But remember Donald Trump's personal physician for all of those years? The individual passed away, I think, in 2021. Remember in 2018, Donald Trump sent his thugs to basically raid that doctor's office. That was the doctor who wrote that personal note for Donald Trump when he was running in 2015, 2016, that said that Donald Trump is the healthiest person to ever run from the office of the presidency. Remember who that doctor was? Dr. Harold Bornstein. Well, if you look at what Dr. Harold Bornstein's specialty was, Donald Trump's personal physician, it all clicks. He was a gastroenterologist. That's the type of doctor he was that would be dealing with these types of issues if Donald Trump was having issues just kind of spontaneously soiling himself and all these other issues that we've heard about over the years. And I was like, oh, he's a gastro. I didn't even put two and two together. So let's break this down. Let's go through this methodically. And as we've done before with these reports, whether it was Donald Trump apparently soiling himself or farting in the courtroom, whatever it was going on there during the criminal trial where he was convicted on 34 separate felony counts, I want to do this very seriously. I don't do these reports in a way to kind of mock him or to mock people who have, it's not the way I handle these stories. It is important that we look at this data point, given his age, given the fact that if he is soiling himself in front of Congress members, senators, world leaders during his speeches, and that he's just going on about these speeches and he's having these issues, it speaks to some broader concerns. If this was happening with President Biden, ask yourself, would this be reported? It would. So I'm not going to ignore it because it's happening with Donald Trump. So first, once again, let me show you the clip that's now gone very viral. I believe Jimmy Kimmel's talked about it. Others have talked about it, but we clipped it first here at the MeidasTouch Network. This was at the Detroit Economic Club. Judge for yourself what's going on, but listen, you will see for yourself. Here, play this clip.
This is a catastrophe for the American dream and a dire crisis from commerce to labor to FEMA.
And I just want to give you the other data points. Remember, Donald Trump did this when he was disgracing the office. He held that meeting with the late California Senator Dianne Feinstein. Remember, he apparently soiled himself or was at least farting while he was sitting next to her. And you see her look at it and she's so disgusted by it. But watch, because he did it on her. Basically, watch this. Let's play the clip.
So today we're here in a bipartisan fashion to show leadership in an effort to end this senseless violence. It can be ended.
And then he did it with the president of Turkey's visit in the Oval Office. Erdogan, here, watch this. I'll show you some other data points there as well. But again, let's now take a look at Donald Trump's personal doctor. He's a gastroenterologist right there. And he was Donald Trump's personal physician from 1980 until early 2018. He's the one who wrote this doctor's note right here that said, I have been the personal physician of Donald Trump since 1980. If elected, I can state unequivocally, Trump will be the healthiest individual ever elected to the presidency. Let me take you through now some of the sourcing that I have right here. This is someone who reached out to me. I contacted them, and the individual said, Ben, regarding Trump shitting himself. This is what the person said to me. I have reason to believe that this is true, as I saw him back in April 2016 at a gastroenterologist clinic on Park Avenue, New York City. And then he sent me I said, you got to show me the evidence of this, that you're not making this up, that this is really what happened. So he goes, I have the text messages I sent from 2016 when Trump was next to me, and I've got photographs of Trump going into there. And this is from 2016 now, April 2016. This individual wrote to their friend, Donald Trump is at my doctor's. The response from his friend, are you joking? No, I saw him. Just missed the pic, but he got a photo of Donald Trump going into the SUV. So he has poop issues too. That's what I said to my doc. And then the person goes to me, Ben, I was next to him in the office and nearly caught the pic of him leaving along with his Secret Service entourage. I can confirm that he smells off. Luckily, my IBS was temporary, but it seems like his is chronic. It was the same doctor, gastroenterology specialist Harold Bornstein, whose Trump's guys busted into and stole his medical records. We can't have a president who has a very real potential of soiling himself in public. And that's what my source is saying to me right there. Now, let's go to Harold Bornstein. When we talk about Donald Trump stealing his medical file back from Harold Bornstein, where do we get that from? Harold Bornstein said this in 2018 when Donald Trump sent his bodyguards to go in there and seize Donald Trump's file. So what Bornstein since passed away in 2021, suspiciously, I might add. But this is what he said in 2018. Let's play the clip.
Exactly were they looking for?
All his medical records, his pictures, anything they could find. We must have been here for 25 or 30 minutes. We created a lot of chaos. I couldn't believe anybody was making a big deal about a drug that's to grow his hair, which seemed to be so important. And it certainly is not a breach of medical trust to tell somebody they take Propecia to grow their hair. What's the matter with that?
Bornstein then also admitted to CNN that Donald Trump's medical records and the medical note that I read to you before was actually written by, not Bornstein, by Donald Trump. So Donald Trump used his gastroenterologist, who deals with these types of issues that Donald Trump seems to be exhibiting in Detroit and all those other times where we've seen it with this putrid odor, the smell, what's going on there. Then Donald Trump wrote the note for himself. Think about that right there. And we have the CNN clip to show you.
We ran into Dr. Harold Bornstein right outside his office on Park Avenue, and he told us in no uncertain terms, and this is the quote, Aaron, he being Trump, he dictated that whole letter. I didn't write that letter, meaning that Trump dictated what he wanted to go into it, and essentially Bornstein wrote it up. He did say, he compared it to the movie Fargo, and he said it takes the truth and moves it in a different direction. Think about that. Now, Bornstein tells us that he was in a car with his wife when he was on the phone with then candidate Trump in December of 2015. And she was going through with Trump what he could say and what he couldn't say. Trump was dictating what he wanted in that letter, and Bornstein was saying, okay, you can say that, you can't say that. He then came here to the office. He wrote it up. Trump's office later picked it up. He said around 4 p.m. Aaron, we have reached out to the White House, but we have not gotten a response.
All right, so that's pretty incredible in and of itself. You also now, Alex, Bornstein is saying he was, quote unquote, robbed of the president's medical files. He spoke to you particularly about this encounter. What did he tell you?
Right, so he is saying this is a raid. Bornstein is saying that he was robbed. I specifically asked him, was a crime committed? He said they stole them, referring to the president's medical files. The they in that sentence are two men under the president's employ. The first, as you mentioned, is Keith Schiller, who was the president's longtime bodyguard here in New York. He then moved down to Washington with the president, worked in the White House as the head of Oval Office operations. The other person we understand is Alan Garten, who is an attorney for the Trump Organization. Now, Aaron, normally when you have medical records released, you need what's called a HIPAA released. We understand from Bornstein, he told us this afternoon, that was not signed. Instead, he says these two men barged through the back door, terrified the secretary, pushed aside the patient who was in there. Now, the White House is not contesting that they took possession of these medical files, but they are saying that it was not a raid. Instead, Aaron, they're saying that this was just standard operating procedure. Aaron.
Now let me show you what Adam Kinzinger told me about Donald Trump's smell. Play this clip. I'm genuinely surprised how people close to Trump haven't talked about the odor. It's truly something to behold. Wear a mask if you can. Then Donald Trump responded to that, and he had his team go after you and say, no, Kinzinger is the one who's smelly. And as Hillary Clinton said, if you could be baited by a tweet, how are you supposed to be expected to handle Vladimir Putin and other authoritarians? And Donald Trump clearly got baited by your tweet and your post. But let's just start with your post. The odor, the stench, the stink. How bad is it? What do you know about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not good. I mean, think about the best way to describe it. I've tried to take like armpits, ketchup, like a butt, and kind of put it in a blender, and makeup, and put that all in a blender, and and you bottle that as a cologne. That's kind of that. But it's amazing. Like, I've been amazed that, everybody's just kind of like learning about this now. But again, I think the bigger point is he's a weak human being. But look at this. He had his people respond to me on this. By the way, they're always unnamed spokesmen because none of them want to put their names, even though I think I know who's doing this. Like, they don't want to put their names behind that because they know that their words are going to live forever. And my goodness, I mean, Vladimir Putin, I'm going to tell you, President Xi of China, they're licking their chops at the idea of another Donald Trump term. Because I sat in the Oval Office once when Donald Trump begged a group of us to pull China's ZTE out of the sanctions list from the National Defense Authorization Act because he made a personal promise to President Xi because Xi asked him nicely on the phone. I mean, this is the kind of leader, of the greatest country in the world that we're looking at reinstating. And the odor is the odor. And, I think that needs to stay alive. People need to keep talking about it because he's the kind of guy that would use something like that all the time against other people. He needs a taste of his own medicine.
You are aware, as another data point, that Donald Trump continuously attracts flies to him at his various speeches. And we know flies are attracted to feces. Here it is right here.
And all of New England, actually, he's a disaster. He's radical left. RFK Jr. is radical left. It reminds me of this fly that's driving me crazy up here. This fly is brutal. I don't like flies. Oh, there's a fly. Oh, I wonder where the fly came from. See, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had a fly up here. You're changing rapidly. But we can't take it any longer. We can't take it any longer. A coal plant a week. I don't like flies. Get out of here, fly. Never been a big fan of flies. You don't mind my bringing that up, do you? Anyway, this is a very aggressive sucker. That is this one. This one in particular is very aggressive. Like, I'm going to be aggressive for our country.
At a lot of his speeches, we see this situation with the flies. And finally, here was an individual from many decades ago who said that Trump was kicked out of a restaurant because the smell was so bad. Play the clip.
So, when you post something and then someone bigger than you, like Adam Kinzinger, confirm it. And years ago, I posted about Trump being kicked out of Keen's Steakhouse in Manhattan where I was eating with my father in 1983. Because his smell was so offensive. This wasn't an elderly thing. It was 1983. I wouldn't make fun of Trump today if it was an elderly thing. That's not what we do on the left. It happens to elderly people. Trump wasn't elderly. We didn't complain. The table next to him complained, and the table behind him complained. We smelled it, but my father and I didn't complain about it. Trump was not elderly. The smell was so fucking offensive that they finally had to ask him to leave. And he did leave, quietly, right by us, and it wafted us. Trump's been shitting all over himself for almost 40 fucking years.
Well, there you have it. Collect all that data. But I wanted to show you what someone who was there, they've got the photos, contemporaneously confirmed. Trump was stealing those records. What do you think these issues are? Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million together. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.